Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Perks and Modern Campground. Excited to welcome you back for another episode of our podcast. Today is week 4. I'm back after 2 weeks off. I haven't had a chance to watch the episodes that happen while I'm gone. I assume that our guest host, Zach Stoltenberg, for the first week, and Raphael from Blue Water for last week obviously did a much better job than me. The bar's like super, I don't even know how far I can lean down, right, to be better than me. But so I'm assuming all those things went really well while I was gone. Different topics every week, but excited to be back from Ireland. I got my new gear on, like my new hat that I bought in Ireland. It's the first time I've ever gone on a trip that I can remember. And I was asking my girlfriend where I actually came home with like new clothing. Like, I like these hats, so I've always been looking for this style of hat, and I finally found like a super old 1824 company that hand knits them in Donegal, Ireland. And so I bought one of those. But so this is my new kind of like, I'm rebranding myself. What do you think, Cara? You've known me for a while. Does it look good?
Yeah.
I mean, it can't look worse than what it was without it, right? So like, again, low bar, right? So
a small improvement.
So anyway, like super excited to be back. Today is our episode where we're going to talk about marketing, AI, all those kinds of things. So we have a couple recurring guests on here. We have Mychele Bisson. Is it Bisson? I want to pronounce it that way. It's Bisson, right?
It's Bisson. I mean, if you're going to be French, it's Bisson, but it's Bisson.
Well, I was closer to France like last week. So does that count? No, probably not. It's just a cop.
Well, it's actually from Montreal, I think. So my husband's from Montreal.
Okay. So French Canadian. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, pseudo French.
So I really have no excuse. All right. Mychele is here. Welcome back. Excited to have you as a recurring guest. Kurtis Wilkins is here too. We're going to go around the room and introduce ourselves in a second. Csizmadia, the president of CCRVA, and Greg Emmert, founder and principal at Vireo, good campground consultant, all that kind of stuff. And then we have 2 of our special guests here, Wesley and Ari Smith from CCRVA.ca, but also from glamping business too, right? So we're going to talk about all kinds of things, some interesting crossovers today. So do we want to just go around the room and briefly, guys, you can introduce yourself. Who would like to start? I can call in names if I need to, but I figured you guys would just.
I can start, no problem. So I only put my name Wesley because I can put it fully, but that's Wesley van der Plicht, which is quite Dutch. I'm in the Netherlands right now, so I'm also from the Netherlands. I'm working in the hospitality technology industry for 7 years, and the past 5 years at Eastcure, and I'm an expert in access control, guest journey experts in holiday parks in Europe, and we came up with the idea, the ultimate guest journey. So that's I'm hoping to tell you a bit more about and have some discussions about that.
You for sure will. Absolutely. We're definitely going to get into that. So who's next?
I'll go. I'm Ari Smith. I actually live right south of Montreal, which we were just talking about. I live in the Northeast Kingdom in Vermont. My background is I studied math and computer science at MIT, and started a company out of their entrepreneurship division, sold it to a subsidiary of Microsoft, where I went to go work for 2.5 years in their telco group. But I also got to work on AI for the first time in my life, and just decided that's where I wanted to live my life. Built an AI, strategic consulting firm, and then once I, met my wife, I basically became obsessed with hospitality. She's an expert in hospitality and builds like luxury, like off-grid eco resorts, and we kind of merged our passions. I love like AI and smart tech, and she loves things that are beautiful and that make people feel happy, and she sort of infected me with her passion for that. And so that's actually what we're doing here in Vermont. We bought about 543 acres, and we're just building her vision with all of my nerdiness.
Nice. That sounds really awesome. Congratulations. I'm excited to explore a little bit more of that with you. Who wants to go first from our recurring guests now that we've established our guests are the alpha in the room?
I'll go, I guess. My name is Mychele Bisson. I'm the CEO of Bison Peak Ventures. We actually own campgrounds from Alaska down to Florida. We jumped from luxury resort builds into campgrounds a few years ago and actually fell in love with the space and the people that visit them. We're always looking for new ways to get new guests in and find new ways to run them more efficiently and streamlined. So
awesome. Welcome. Thanks for being here as always. Kurtis?
Yeah.
My name's Kurtis Wilkins. I'm with Our Journey, and like Mychele, we own campgrounds from Washington to Florida, California to Maine. We've avoided Alaska, but I'm interested to hear from Mychele about Alaska. And we're a management company, and I lead our data science teams and acquisitions.
Don't tell him, Mychele. Like, he's probably going to then get into Alaska and try to take it over, and it'll be a war, and it'll be just, yeah, don't give away your secrets. Cara?
Right.
Yeah, Cara Csizmadia, president of the Canadian Camping and RV Association, a former campground owner. I spent 15 years prior to working on the association side. I owned a 200-site campground just near Calgary, Alberta. I'm based near there still, but the association's head office in Toronto area, so I get to kind of travel all over Canada and often down south into the States as well. Nowadays, supporting roughly 2,000 privately owned campgrounds across the country who are members of the association.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, as always. And last but not least, Greg, listening to the rain.
Last and least,
Greg. Should we
Yeah.
explain listening to the rain, or just let people leave hanging, since that was before the show started? Probably just leave them hanging.
I think you can leave them hanging. What else do you need to say? Listening to the rain is just awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully there's not too much background noise from me. I am founder and principal consultant at Vireo. That's my consulting firm that I started a little over a year ago. I've been in consulting now for a few years. After I got out of the hospitality industry, like Cara, I used to be a park owner. So I did that for 26 years and sold it in 2020. When you sell your job, you need a new job. Hence is the consulting work was born. So happy to be back on again. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you being here, Greg. So, I think the first thing we typically start these shows off for is like to our recurring guests, Mychele and Greg and Cara and Kurtis. What is something that's come across your desk in the last month since we've been together? Obviously, the world of AI moves super fast. We have a couple things that we can talk about later that have come out, but is there anything that has really struck you guys that needs to be paid attention to? And it doesn't have to be AI, right? It could be marketing, campgrounds, anything like that.
I mean, we actually had a great year this year. So across the board, we actually were up quite a bit. We just held the end of the Sturgis American Road Trip Tour at one of our campgrounds, which was amazing. Had live music and concerts going on. So it was probably 3 days of pure chaos, but everybody was great. It was amazing. We didn't have any issues.
You're saying about the biker rally, right? That goes... The motorcycle rally? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was great. So, did a big bike competition. And then next week we actually head up to Alaska to close down our park for the season. So.
See that, Kurtis? You can only run Alaska for a couple months. It's bad. It's a terrible idea. Stay away from Alaska.
It is the same operating season as Maine, is what I've heard.
Yeah. It's pretty similar. But we do, because of where we're located, with it being a bucket list item, we do a massive influx of people during the season while we're open. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just beautiful up there anyway. I mean, going through Canada, it's just that entire trek is amazing. So
I've actually never been to Alaska. Surprisingly, I've never been to Alaska. Like, I've been to I've been to every other state in the United States.
Well, you're going to have to come visit, Brian.
I'm trying to get it into my schedule. I had to go to Ireland and get a hat so I could look cool when I went other places. Now I've got that checked off the bucket list, so now I can actually go out into public more, I think.
Well, let me know when you're ready, because we're in Valdez and we'd love to have you.
All right. Kurtis, Greg, Cara, anything that's new?
Robotics is actually kind of the thing that has been coming on our radar, and it's been coming across my desk for the last... It's been coming across my desk for the last 180 days, really. But like when you talk about incorporating simple systems, right? Like, we're not talking about replacement of our bar staff. They have those robots. I don't know if I'm a believer yet. But like just simple robots that mop and that do like large cleaning areas for like your clubhouses and things that we don't realize we spend a lot of time doing. And that's coming to the forefront. And then also, I don't know how many of you guys watch your lawnmowers, but lawnmowers are expensive. And there's been a lot of progress made in that sector as well.
Well, lawnmowers are expensive, but also people who mow lawns with lawnmowers are expensive, right? So,
agreed.
That's what,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting. I was reading, actually, Jessica, you can share my screen real quick since we're talking about this. One of the tabs up at the top there, it's called, yeah, your screen. Sorry. Where is it at the top? It's one of the tabs right in front of you. It's Project Go Big. So just hit share tab on the bottom. Jessica's been off for 2 weeks. She needs a little bit of, so do I. I need to get back into the thing. It's called the Project Go Big. So just scroll down and look for it. Should probably close like 70% of my tabs so that she has an easier job of finding the things.
I've been seeing a lot of that robotic stuff too, Kurtis. Like that's a super interesting topic, by the way.
Yeah, so this is what this just came across my desk. I'm going to share this on one of our podcasts, or our other podcast, Outwire, later. We're going to talk about some of the employment issues and things that may or may not come. Yeah, just go back to the Restream tab. And then, this is Project Go Bed from Figure. And sorry, Jessica, you're struggling today. You're making me look bad. I'm kidding. I look good on myself. So yeah, but you're right. Like a lot of these robotic companies like Figure 1X, and these are very easily seen on YouTube videos if you guys want to go look and see what the future and how fast these things are progressing. But if you scroll down, this is a new thing they released about 7 days ago. You can go down and you can hit play on that video and just see like they're partnering with a residential company, Brookfield, that any of you in real estate probably have heard of. I think they own 100,000. Yeah, they say 100,000 residential units worldwide. And they're actually they're putting these things, like these are not simulations. These are not AI generated videos. These are like robots that are both training in Brookfield's residential units and also using software from like companies like NVIDIA and stuff to learn how to operate washers and go to the fridge and make meals and pack laundry and fold clothes and all the things, right? So this is something that like I know you weren't getting this deep into it probably, Kurtis. Maybe you were, but like this is coming really, really fast. And the only bottleneck here, just like the only bottleneck with AI software is compute and GPUs and data centers. The only bottleneck here is how fast can you get them off the manufacturing line, which right now is not as fast as we would hope, I think, but is quickly going to scale up quite a bit.
Last I talked to them, they told me I couldn't get anything for 6 months. But that's because they sold out their entire production line for the next year. And so they had to go build a brand new plant just to fill the next round.
You talked to Figure or another company?
No, Figure.
Yeah. These are going to be like these. I think at some point I was reading, and I have it verified for the show later. You can stop sharing for now, Jessica. I have verified for the show later. Somebody told me that it was like 1,000 robots a day they're putting in, which is not a lot when you think about the economy, but like still like it's quite a number of people who have never seen these videos and have never delved into this, like somebody who's like me, a geek with no life, right, who watches this stuff. Like it's really surprising to see like how far these things have come and how ready they are to go. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll try to keep them brief because I could monologue forever. By the way, energy is probably a bigger problem than all those other things, but the points are definitely valid. And our supply chain has got a whole bunch of other issues with it relative to our manufacturing capability. But like the reality is however fast we think things are going, they're happening fast. Like there was just a conference at Stanford and Google like 2 weeks ago, and the production is not just like, they're not just ramping up, like they're coming online with this stuff. And when you look at all the different initiatives like Stargate, like what the government's doing with NVIDIA, and now what's happening with like fabs and Intel, like it's going to come much faster than pretty much every public estimate. And if you listen to some of the folks that are like working in this industry, they'll tell you it's even faster still. So we're going to have these.
I mean, the data is clearly there, right? Like you can come at this from, as most people do outside of the AI industry, not knowing even 5% of what I do or you do, Ari, or anybody else like Kurtis who casually even researches this stuff for their business. You can come at it from that aspect. But if you look at like all of these dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, I think it's almost up to $1 trillion this year in data centers, I think was the latest number I read. commitments of $500 billion for Stargate, and then there's the new $100 billion NVIDIA partnership with OpenAI the other day, and like just hundreds of billions of dollars. These companies are all quarterly companies. They have to report to their stockholders once every 3 months. Do you think they're spending this much money for something that's going to be in existence 5 or 10 years from now? Like, this is coming quick.
Yeah, not only is it coming quick, but like because there's so many unknowns with regards to this, it normally would say, okay, let's be a little more careful. But because we're in this like game theoretics prisoner's dilemma type situation with China, like we're just racing forward with like it's past $1 trillion, by the way. It's already like it's wild, and even when you factor in the UAE stuff that has been going on, it is.
Well, yeah, globally, yes, globally. I think it was
it's just shocking. I mean, like the U.S.'s agreements with them, like it's unbelievable, like the pace at which we are racing ahead with this stuff. So yeah, every time I think I know where things are, I'm already wrong by the time I finish that thought process. So it's always
for sure. Everybody's wrong. Anybody who tells you they knows what's happening is complete, including me, is completely full of shit. So like, talk to us. This is a good maybe transition, Ari, to your your glamping business that is your wife's passion that has infected you, but also your obvious interest in AI and robots and all things technology. Like, how are like first of all, tell us a little bit about your glamping operation, but then second, lead that into like, how do you think about this as the owner of a glamping operation and also someone who's deeply involved and passionate about AI? Where are you thinking about taking your business?
So first of all, our space is called Balance.Farm, and it's my wife's like new vision of what like she originally built this off-grid like luxury like eco resort in like Folly Joshua Tree and Mojave, and that property did really well and got lots of awards and whatnot. So she's like, okay, I want to take that and now do a bespoke version in Vermont. And I'll say to you, Mychele, I've been challenging the idea that we can only operate outside of the snow. We get like 5 feet of snow up here because we're on the top of the hill, so it's even worse for us. But we are going to operate right through that. We got electric snowmobiles and all kinds of wacky stuff. We're gonna see. This is gonna be our first year trying to like maintain operate because it's beautiful here, but it's hard when you got so much snow and cold. So yeah, we're gonna see how that goes, and I might be back to you later. Like, yeah, I should have listened to you. Notwithstanding, we're trying to put together like basically a winter version of what an off-grid like eco resort can be, and the role of automation, AI, computer vision, language models, voice interfaces, and just generalized robotics. I mean, it couldn't be there couldn't be more ways to apply it. Like when you talk about the lawnmowers we were talking about, like we have a modified like snowblower that my engineer and we bolted onto a system that has a GPS like route engine that we put into it, and so it can go and snow blow our 1.5 mile driveway because we're really off grid, and we've been playing with these tools because it's all becoming commoditized, and there's like incredible open source kits. You don't have to have a huge manufacturing operation or like a lot of specialized capabilities. You just have to have like a real passion for it, and I guess some basic be helpful to know something about electrical engineering and robotics design and systems programming. But the point is, it's becoming so commoditized and so available that we're going to see like what we're doing here is pretty cutting edge, probably for the next 3 months. Like we have we have a private LLM that is using our computer vision, so it keeps all the data like locally and is like recognizing guests and can unlock doors and all that stuff we already have seen that I custom built. Is going to there's like toolkits that are coming out for that to make it so much simpler. So and that goes across the board. So we see and we're using robotics here fairly extensively, but it's all because it's becoming commoditized. I can tell you with certitude that this is going to be the next like 2 years. Every operator, if they're not like transforming themselves, not just with like AI and voice systems, but with robotics, they're just killing like their margin. There's so much money to be saved. I don't have the numbers up in front of me. I mean, in front of me to the camera, but I don't have the numbers on the top of my head. But we saw insane cost savings. Like I'm talking about energy, and this was using AI to analyze like energy patterns, water usage, monitoring septic. Like we tried to integrate it everywhere, and this is going to become something where you don't even have to be like a DIY hobbyist nerd like me. You'll be able to buy systems to do this for you with very little work. inside of a year and a half, I would
Well,
say.
that's the transition point, right? So like I've been obsessed with this stuff, like even just at my house, the smart homes, the Google Assistants, the Home Assistant, open source, right? Setting up all this stuff. But previously, like you're talking about, you had to have a technology background in some capacity, or at least a willingness to figure all this stuff out. But because it required mapping, it required hooking things up, it required Zigbee and Z-Wave and all the right, knowing all this stuff. And that's where this turning point is now with AI and robots. We're coming into this era, like almost right now with AI, with software AI, right? Where, like you're talking about, it's going to be plug and play. I think I read OpenAI and Anthropic are training agents that are specific to like HubSpot or stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
That where you can just hire a HubSpot CRM expert and it will come in and will know everything about HubSpot. And it will do whatever you want it to do. And its only purpose is HubSpot.
There is an interesting thing on this point, which is why I actually mentioned the private LLM, right? I do think that I just never use like public like LLM infrastructure unless I'm building stuff for clients that you integrate with them. But
and for clarity, for the people who are watching, LLM, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini.
Yeah, there's large language models and the kinds you buy, like Brian said, like ChatGPT, Gemini, whatnot. Those you can buy access to their compute, but there's also open source variants that you can run locally if you know how to do that. And it just the only difference is you're a bit behind the state of the art, but you have complete privatization of your data. So data sovereignty is key. And one of the things that Hillary mentioned to me, my wife's Hillary, she mentioned to me about the industry is that the customer data is like sacrosanct. And so the idea of log shipping that information to a third party, like I thought, I bet this is going to be a major point of contention. And if it isn't, it's going to be disappointing in the way that everybody gave away their data to Google and now they're doing it to OpenAI. I'm hoping that our industry, I now say all our as though I'm part of the hospitality industry, not just building nerdy stuff for it. I married into it. I'm hoping that our industry treats customer data much more carefully than virtually every other industry that I've encountered. And I can tell you when you do this, that it's not just a matter of protecting customer data. There are incredible advantages when you have data localized. So I think, at least for a bigger operator, like Mychele, you have sounds like quite a substantial operation. I could see this making sense economically for you, but even for smaller operators, the price point, this is a non-linear scenario. So the price point is going to become really attractive, even for individual operators, I think very soon, to have localized intelligence. And when you do that, you can start providing unbelievably personalized experience for customers without fear that you're just training like OpenAI's models or whatever.
And Ari, that's actually exactly what our company did. We have hundreds of thousands of customers, right? And how do we protect that information and make sure that we're not giving that away? Like, as much as we want to trust Google, like they already have it.
Sorry, I didn't realize that's what we
Google.
wanted.
I don't want to trust Google, but anyway.
But the point is like you're feeding in your business practices and like, well, it's learned that. And what happens? So like Mychele and I, like we're friendly competitors, but we're still competitors. And Mychele, like if she was feeding all of her data in, the last thing she wants is Kurtis to go in and be like, how is Bison Peaks doing this? Like,
Yeah.
And we moved immediately to a private LLM. And then maintaining it's been fun.
I feel like somebody in your position who you clearly share some of my interest in this stuff. If you're not interested in this, like my wife's like, what are you doing with the wires now? What are you building out there? Why is those fans so loud? But if you love this stuff, it couldn't be more fun, and you're securing your customers and giving them better experience.
I thought you were going to go into like running ESP32 chips with cameras.
I don't feel like that would be accessible. I think I got to avoid Arduino and those type of conversations, but there's incredible things that you can do, like robotics and like even like local vision systems that are going to change the way that people understand this industry and the way that customers experience it.
Well, and
I know in Europe,
right? Like I think the key for people here who are listening to this who aren't tech savvy is to understand that the age of being able to deploy this without an Ari who knows all the things, or without a Kurtis who knows all the things, or without even a me, is quickly coming to pass, right? Like you're going to need some of us for the higher level stuff, but like the lower level fruits is going to be pretty easy to deploy if you're willing to put your head down and think about some things.
Yeah.
Greg, what do you think here? Like, how does this impact you who've been doing you've been doing consulting for a number of years now. How does this change what you recommend to clients, what they do, how their efficiencies and margins work, what they're building for the future or not building?
That's a great question. And I'll tell you what it changes is, everything. Um, but no, realistically though, it does. And it's really hard because a lot of my clients, while some are like smaller groups, right, that own maybe 10 or 20 parks, some of them are mom and pop operations. It just finished a master planning call that's been ongoing for weeks now. And if anybody out there knows this industry and knows the mom and pop operator, and this is not a shot at mom and pop operators because I was one of those, my parents were one of those, we are slow to adapt. And it has been very, very challenging. I actually had a call with somebody, Brian, you're going to love this. I had a call with somebody last week and they said the AI. So like if I want to use the AI, sort of like throwback to who was it, George Bush, that was like the Google, right? In one of the press conferences way back when.
Was it AL or A1 that the
It wasn't A1. Yeah, I still feel that was a bit worse. But yeah, it's trying to get them to understand the fundamental shift in how they're going to access information. It really, in a way, feels like I'm trying to teach people about the internet back when it first came out. And what do you mean I don't have to go to a library? Well, everything at the library is on the internet, plus more. Well, that can't be right. I'm just going to go to the library. So we're kind of stuck in that realm. So it's been challenging, but really enjoyable because I like to teach. And so it's been kind of fun getting people that will accept it, slowly just baby stepping them into it to understand what they can do, the efficiency they can bring to their business, or the elevation in the quality of the work. Even if it's just using it, I typically start with guest communication. Okay, how do you do it now? How do you write your communications? Okay, well, you know what? Use it to polish that email. And I know that's kind of like, I've seen memes about this online. Like, if you're just using AI to polish your email, you're still like napping Flint in the Stone Age. All right, maybe. But for some people, that's where I can get them to start. If they can see it, then that's the gateway drug. Then I can get them going from there. But it's changed everything. It's an entirely different process when I talk to a guest now. Top to bottom, how I communicate with them, how I talk to them about communicating with their guests, and looking at how to be more efficient on a daily basis. It has changed the entire process.
I think that's part of the danger, though, right? Is it is changing everything, and so for somebody like
really
me
fast,
or you, or any like Kurtis or anybody, like when you talk about like, where do you start, right? You have to almost segment that thing like email and say like, because when you tell somebody it's changing everything, they just look at you like a deer in headlights, right?
Yeah, you can't communicate that,
right?
Yeah,
like we're dealing with even our team that we've been trying to retrain our team for 2.5 years. We've succeeded, right? But new things compound, right? And we were talking to them this morning about like, we have clients who are big marketing teams. And I don't know how big your marketing team is, Kurtis, or your team is, Mychele. And I'm not saying any of you two are doing this, right? But like, we have marketing teams who just don't grasp the concept that websites are not going to be the gateway anymore. And so for all the 5-6 people on marketing teams who have agonized for so long over the headline and the header and the placement and the video and the colors and the call to action and all the things, like, it doesn't matter. And I had to prove it to my team this morning. I went on there and I said, look, here's this beautiful website. They agonized over all this stuff. I'm the old couple doing this, holding champagne and all the things. And then you go to ChatGPT and say, tell me about this place. And that tagline is nowhere to be found. All the words are regurgitated. They're all different. Your brand message is gone. So stop obsessing over it. But you can't have that story, because like that story then leads to like, well, 5 of those 6 people don't need a job anymore.
Well, can I just make a quick comment on that? So first of all, Greg, to what you're saying, I think there is something to be said for the fact that the problem is like people like me. It's not the customer saying the AI. It has to be simple enough that they shouldn't have to know that that's not the right way to deal with. Like my 10-year-old thinks that like the AI is just a thing she talks to. It's just natural to her.
Yeah.
But like my my brother or my uncle. Like it's a thing they had to kind of get used to, or like it required training, understanding. And there's that spectrum. So I think that what will actually happen if we look at like, historical like trends in business and like just the straightforward econometrics is enterprises adopt it first. So they'll be ahead of like the mom and pops, but then they get infrastructure and they spend like, actually, let's stick with Mychele just because I heard you the way you described your example. So you would want to take advantage of the economic efficiencies and you'd be at a scale where you could do that. Then you implement these systems. And then a year later, because of the unbelievable pace at which things are happening, a much better system comes in place. But your cost to rip and replace is onerous. So now the mom and pop has the opportunity to jump ahead because they can take a system that costs 1/10 that is 5 times as good. And this is actually a problem businesses face more than mom and pops because it's going to be so easy for them to implement and the price is going to come down and they don't have those same pressures to like adapt. So they'll be able to get the cutting edge stuff when it's really cheap, and businesses that needed to think about like that quarter or that, like that public, filing or whatever, they have to adapt quickly, which actually gives them, it's some sort of like how South Korea was able to jump right to fiber because they didn't have like copper. Like we have, billions of miles of copper here that we're still trying to rip up. The other thing I would say is this, that even to those people, like obviously AI is really wholesale transforming and wiping out jobs across the board. But even to marketers, if they're thinking the right way, it's like, yeah, okay, SEO is probably not going to be great because we're already building agents that just are doing the browsing for you. So it's not like websites are not going to be the main entry point when people are just like telling glasses, hey, get me the data. They're not going to be scrolling through a lot of stuff and just get the exact information they want. But like generative optimization is already a thing where you're trying to figure out how do I make my site, because it's indexed by these bots, make it appear to the agents that are really the things that are people's new entry points. So there's, for a lot of situations, especially in this industry, which is probably one of the most protected industries from wholesale replacement because of the human nature of like communication and empathy, that even if you can get better with an AI, you still want like a biological entity to provide. There is ways to adapt and to up level. It's more a question, I think this is to your point, Greg, it's like getting people of all types to understand, I need to be thinking differently. I can't just assume I'm going to have my skills and that those will take me. Like I'm going to be obsolete. I run an AI company. I'm a solutions architect. I design these systems that I'm talking about, and I'm going to be almost completely, if not completely irrelevant inside of 3 years. So I have to adapt. And that's the nature of everything. It's like constantly reinvent. So it's a challenge we all face, but it's an opportunity for the people who are like kind of thinking ahead.
Yeah, so I'm not saying like you go there, right? I'm not saying like you go all the way to like I just don't all of a sudden care about branding, but you have to follow that middle ground and start now and think about, how does AI read my site? How does AI digest the information? How does it summarize it? How do I get the answer to as many questions as I can, et cetera, et cetera. And then eventually, as we know with like humanoids, the reason humanoids have fingers and toes and are 6 feet tall is because they can walk through doors and use all the things that exist in the world already. The reason that AI agents use a computer and a mouse and a keyboard is because that's the easy way to access all websites today. Eventually, everything's a database and an API. That's 20 years from now.
Fred is definitely the future, but also octopus robots, I believe they will be here after we get past
8 arms. I want an 8-armed chef in my kitchen. That's what I want.
I think America is a little bit different than the European market with the mom and pops holiday parks, to be honest, because what we see in Europe and especially the Netherlands is that the smaller mom and pop that are the bigger campsites in the Netherlands, but they are more innovative than the big chains, to be honest, in Europe. They trying new stuff. They would like to keep up ahead of the big chains. And they were the first after COVID to start with facial recognition for the swimming pool, what we do a lot. Seamless access control, AI communication with the guest, so that the girl at the reception can be a host again and not an administrative desk clerk. And that's what we see in Europe, that they are more innovative than the big chains. I don't know, is that different in Canada and in America?
I think it's just a lot of case by case, I think, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's also kind of a bit of a demographic issue, like Greg touched on. I think it depends on the age of the owner. and various other factors. How long they've been in the business for sometimes can impact some of those decision-making things and strategies. I was just talking with my kid. Ari mentioned his 10-year-old. My kid is 15, asked me a question about a campground. And I was like, I don't know the answer to that. Like, I know a lot about Canadian campgrounds, but I don't know if that one has a pool or whatever off the top of my head. So I said, Google it. Instead, he just pulled out his ChatGPT and voice to his buddy on ChatGPT, asked him about this campground, and he got all this information handed to him. He never opened Google once. Whether it was true or not, like, I think we need to be ready for, my son is 15 now, but eventually he's going to be, well, he's going camping this weekend with his buddies, but eventually he's going to be the guy that's driving this stuff, and he doesn't even care about Google or any, like, this is so second nature to them. And so there's that demographic separation where you have campground owners who have been doing things the same way for a long time, and it's worked for them, and the campground's full, so they're not worried about it now. But eventually the 15-year-olds are going to be the guys they need to capture. And so getting ready for that is, I think, the big challenge for a lot of operators here is, like, how do you wrap your brain around it and be prepared, given how fast it's moving, and being prepared to serve those clients that are coming in a handful of years. The whole dynamic of all of this will be that much farther ahead by then.
Most of the time they wait to invest until their children are old enough to take over the company. But most of the time they are a bit too late then.
So walk us through some of the things, Wesley, like your company helps parks deploy this technology, right? You said?
Yeah.
So walk us through some of the things you've seen, because I'm excited to see the difference of, what the technology is available over there. Like, I think later, I'm trying to think of the dates in my head. There's so many conferences coming up. End of October, I'm going to speak on AI at a conference in Croatia. And then I'm going to the SET conference after that in Montpellier, France. So I'm interested, I'll talk to vendors and all those kinds of things, but I'm interested to hear the perspective of the European market and what you've been helping parks with.
Oh, we go there as well in France. It's a huge fair. It's great, to be honest.
Then we'll have to have a drink. We'll have a drink.
Yeah, I think
me.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think in France, I think your head will be fine over there.
You think so? It'll work?
Yeah. Will work. We will get some wine.
All right.
But Ishker is a leading innovator in access and identity management. So we created the ultimate guest journey, and we work together with different software companies in the branch. So we connect APIs basically, like Ari told us, to make the guest journey experience great. So we have a lot of data, and we can send this data to a company who makes apps and can communicate with the guest with AI. But we do the seamless exit journey. So for example, you book in a holiday park. Before arrival, you get an email or a text message or whatever your group would like to receive for information. You can fill in your number plate. You make a selfie for facial recognition in the app, and you arrive, the barrier will open. You will be checked in on the PMS system. The host knows you are there. You go to your mobile home. You can open the mobile home with a mobile key, with QR or whatever technology you would like to use. So integrated in our platform. And now, then there is a problem. The room is not clean yet. So you put your luggage in and you go to the swimming pool, and you can enter the swimming pool seamless with facial recognition. And if you don't want to use facial recognition, you can use QR code, which is dynamic. So it changes every time. So we make the barrier higher for safety, because we had some campsites where they have an inside pool, and then the whole village was going to swim over there when it was shitty weather. And now only the campground people can swim there. So that's basically what we do.
It is interesting. Like, I mean, you talked about how there's a perception from your side, I think, and sometimes like there's a perception depending on the demographic, like Cara was saying, with how Europe is maybe moving a little bit more faster with technology. I think that's like true in other sectors outside of what we're talking about too. Like I know, like I just said I was gonna go to Croatia. I was reading an article the other day about how they're upgrading all the EU border entry stations, and Croatia is one of the first ones on October 15th, where you're gonna go through and fingerprint and have your picture taken for the first time if you're coming from outside the European Union, and then just the ease at the border, the technology, the facial recognition, like I don't see that stuff anywhere so far in Canada or the United States. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I haven't seen it. Like there are kiosks in Canada, but like
I was gonna
totally GDPR proof.
I wanted to comment, Wesley, too, on your facial recognition. Like that is an incredibly useful technology in our sector, because like I cannot tell you how much I want my front desk staff to be able to go, "Hi, Mr. Smith, thanks for coming back." And it's because they have a picture of them on their screen and they know what his license plate is as he walks in. They'll be prompted with that information. Like we can make that experience there. Like the technology exists. I'm more curious about how you got everybody to like let you take a picture of them.
So what our vision is that the holiday is not starting when you arrive at the park. You have to take them in the journey before arrival. You totally do that for sure, and you totally agree. But we send them an email or a WhatsApp message or whatever what we can do. Please download the Camp Park app. So there is an app of the Camp Park itself, and there you have all the information you need. So without the app, you don't have the whole experience. So you have the children's disco. At what time is it? You can order sandwiches. Just everything. Also, upsell is great with this, but you can also communicate. And when somebody is downloading the app, you can see in our platform if the app is downloaded, and if you did not download it, you get a message again, or an AI can give him a call and, hey, you did not download the app. Do you need any help? But if 80% is already downloading the app, and the numbers are higher, to be honest, the season just quit in Europe, but the most of the campsites, it's 98% are downloading the app. And if then the host only needs 4 people to check in, and the rest just arrive. And what a lot of campsites do when they arrive at their mobile home and they are happy, everything is packed, they are relaxed, then a host is coming by and asks them, how is it? They give them a bottle of wine, and then you have a different experience than when you are in a line with 10 people. And I had a story. I became a father last year, and our first trip we had to drive 3 hours, and she puked all over, and it was a mess. And if you then have to stand in the line with a lot of people to get a key, it's 2025, and I'm selling a solution which is much better. So now the good thing is that campsite also bought a system, but at that moment I was not that happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Wesley, don't you find that so I spent a lot of time throughout Europe, and my impression is, that the individual, at the individual adoption layer, like edge AI, access control, smart house, it's so hard to even get a breaker panel or circuit breakers here that are Wi-Fi control. I have to wire them up with Shelly devices, and that stuff is, and even the DIN rail system. There's so much better individual technology, I think, or at least adoption of that technology in Europe. But at the enterprise level, it's there's no hyperscale cloud really, or there's no capital intensity or GPU infrastructure. So it's the enterprises, I think EU is they're killing enterprise opportunities in AI with GDPR and stuff like that. But I've noticed this exact, it's just so odd that the flip is highest return on the individual level. They're almost always, I know I agree with you, Cara, that there is demographic differences and whatnot. Go to Pforzheim in Germany, you'll find some old, hotel operators who are pen and paper, here's your key with a piece of, but in general, I feel Europe is way ahead on the adoption curve but only individually, and that I can only imagine what it would be like if they weren't being hamstrung by the regulation, because I think it's a much bigger problem for operators. So I think, Wesley, your business has great individual opportunity because the enterprise is not addressing it in a way that they might otherwise, because there's not even anybody to address it because they're so restricted. At least that was my. So I'm just curious if that's something that you found as well.
I think I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Let me throw this out here as a devil's advocate thing, right? And this is pure speculation. I have no data to back this up. My data guy Scott isn't even here, so pure speculation. Do you think that the advancement of some of this technology and some of the practices that Europe has, just in this case, like other people have it, right? But Europe, in this case, because we're talking about that, has been helped along in a much more quicker or expedient way because of the more competition and the need to compete for those people, because Germany is 2 hours from Paris and you can go so many different countries and so many different places, and there's so much more competition versus the wide open US or the wide open Canada. And because there's a huge demographic of boomers over here who have, I think, for a long time not had high expectations of the places that they were going to camp at, because they have always been used to I just want to pull in and I want to have my miniature golf course and my pool for the grandkids, and these are the things I expect. And that feels like that expectation, and we've talked about this a little bit on Outwired, Greg, right? That feels like that expectation is not moved for 50 years, but now it's starting to move. So do we think that that's part of the reason that maybe the US and Canada, in some aspects, not all, and demographic based certainly, and location based, is that part of the reason why? Nobody wants.
Yeah, I think so in some ways. Exactly what you just described, right? We're a bit stunted because that's all that's been expected of us.
Because
in some ways,
you could fill your park without, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Near a big enough population center, there's still going to be that clump of people, right? That you can probably draw from. How big is your park? How big is your market share? I mean, it might change if you got to fill 1,000 sites or something, but for a small to medium sized operator, you can kind of stay stunted a little bit. It doesn't mean that you're going to grow personally, that your business is going to grow in value, but you can keep doing what you've always done. And for a lot of operators, that's good enough. I'm not saying it should be by any means. Please don't. In fact, if you don't want, right now, really?
Oh, like a lawnmower behind you? What's happening?
I got a jackwagon of a neighbor. Nice to see you, knucklehead. Sorry. I should probably be sitting inside.
It's fine.
I think he figured out I was on a podcast and was like, watch me do this. Sorry. Anyway.
First fist fight live on MC Fireside Chat, Brian.
Yeah. Do we think that this is starting to turn though, right? Like because we read these anecdotal pieces of evidence that obviously need studied more. And again, I'm not the data guy, I'm not here, but do we feel like we have these anecdotes of like the boomers are not aging out, but also like sadly passing away, right? And there's more boomers that are aging out or passing away than are coming into the RV industry specifically, for example, right? So this feels like this shift has started to happen.
Mm-hmm.
When does it begin to accelerate to the point, either because of economics or because of the aging out or because of whatever, that park owners, a majority of park owners, start to really feel like, oh shit?
So I'd like to take that. I think one is like Ari, like I think groups like yourself, right, where you're building these like hyper specialized, hyper hospitality, like, you're like, okay, this is our focus, this is our niche, this is our core. And there are a lot of Americans that are looking for that experience, right? And I think that is growing. I think it started. I believe there is actually a huge core, Ari, for your demographic in that like 45 to 55 range.
I think there will be. Getting there. Yeah.
But then, like, as we approach that younger group, I'm seeing that shift as well, Brian. And that's like one of the things that we're kind of moving towards is like, I talk about like giving that hospitality approach. One of the things that I immediately called out in Wesley's product is like, I have a secondary use case here that accomplishes how do I become more hospitable? And so I believe that shift is happening. I think it's happening faster. And think that when we talk about AI, kind of looping it back to the main subject, like that's only accelerating it. And so like our expectations of our guests should be higher every year. But I believe it's due mainly to groups like Ari producing that high level, that high end luxury camping, glamping, right? You know, it really started 15 years ago, and it's just picking up more and more momentum because it's that higher end hospitality. Hotels, they saw that run from like the early 80s all the way to now, right? I look at the airline industry, again, another great example with Arab Emirates, right? You can rent a bed and a shower in an airplane.
Right. We're talking about like overseas, right? We're not talking about like if you look at first class on Delta, who's my loyal airline, versus first class on Emirates, right? What in God's name are you paying for an upgrade for on Delta? It doesn't make any sense.
I think there's campgrounds for all spectrums of consumers, but I think that what we're seeing is like the boomer generation, you know, I shouldn't call them that. We should really learn their real name. But their generation, they didn't have that wasn't an option. Like a cool new thing for them was 50 amp service.
Yeah.
That was luxury. Now it's like, no, I need a concrete pad. There better be a barbecuer there, and it better be overlooking the lake with like a 15-foot drop, and I better have beach access, right? Like that's luxury now. And then Ari's providing like an even more extreme version of that, which is like it's a cabin, and you know what I mean? And so I think that piece is what's evolving. It's driving that upper end clientele, which then drives that mid-range clientele up, which then brings up that lower end clientele in that natural cycle.
And I think boomers are also using more and more the mobile phone. So you get more data, so you can also do more specific marketing on them.
But there is like an acceleration point here, right? Like we see this happen whenever like economic and like demographic forces, like when they converge, it's what's happening. Yeah, the boomers are aging out, but all like the next wave of travelers, like they wouldn't even think like what we're doing is so special. What we're literally trying to do here is I try to figure out ways to do what like they do at Amman or Black Bear, all the places that like my wife and I will like love to go say, what are they doing there, and how do we automate that so we aren't paying a staff of 5, so we can have like a system that costs me electrons and do better, like where there's you know it's going to be running 24/7. It's going to be like looking at their social media profiles of the guests if it can find them, and try to figure out what things like proactively that they're going to be interested in. This hyper specialized approach we're taking here, and I've seen this more in Europe, but I can guarantee you that like the cutting edge like DIY stuff, like what I'm doing, it actually is happening in 2 places more than anywhere. One is in America, but it's tinkerers. Like your average adopter in Europe is going to be ahead of the States, not because they're more tech savvy, but because they're more service focused and the expectation is so much higher. So they don't have a choice. It's like, I have to provide better service, and they think about their bottom line.
That's what I mean, the competition.
Do it. It's exactly.
I think there's more competition. I think Brian is sure.
Yeah, you just have to look at it as a force multiplier, and you can now do the things that like the Ritz does. You can do it for pennies, and that's literally everything that we try to do, and I know that everybody else is going to be trying to do, and those forces are going to keep pushing us no matter what. So it's just making sure that operators like, yeah, I'm going to do this versus try to resist or anything else like that.
Yeah.
When does the point shift though for like, and to be clear, like if we go back to like boomers, as Kurtis wants to call them, what do you know their real name, Kurtis? Or
I actually don't. I should, but I refer to that demographic as boomers.
That's them, right? They're baby boomers.
Baby boomers, yeah. Like I'm not criticizing the group of baby boomers or boomers for what they're liking or what they expect or what's changed, right? You're right. As you walk through the progression of what they want. My question is more of like, as I'm a campground owner and I'm looking at these boomers, as we're calling them, baby boomers, whatever else, right? As their expectations have been slow step ups to a pool, to a barbecue, to patio furniture, to concrete pads. And those have been not easy, but much easier lifts for current parks to adapt to. Whereas what we're talking about now is like a leap, right? That's like a complete rethinking in some cases of operational aspects of 80% of how you've run a park. And I think that's where, like, at what point do the expectations either flip, or do the boomers spread out so much because of all the new parks that have been built and all the new, things to the point where like, oh, I've got to pay attention to another demographic besides just the people who want what they've always wanted for 50 years. That's
Or
like
focus on different groups. That's what we see in the
that's right. Yeah.
Netherlands. So
When does it get
in
to
the
that
Netherlands, we
tipping
have
point?
like one chain, which is great. They focus on girlfriend groups. I never heard about it, but it is great. So they have like those hot tubs. They bring wine, and the park is always full with with girls. And the park owner is single still, so I don't know what he's doing, but it's a great concept.
Wait, this is specialized just for.
Yeah, the girls groups. I love it. All the bachelorette parties and the birthday parties and all that. My girlfriends and I would absolutely go on a trip like that for sure. No question. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting piece of it, though, and that requires, like, we've also talked about this on Outwired too, is the idea that like you don't need to just like we have so many people we talk to from a marketing perspective on my other. Well, I don't want to say hat because I do have another hat, but we talk about to them about like, hey, most people come in and they just want to say, I need to fill up my park. I want to target RVers. And they don't have a plan for. And if you just sat down and figured out what your demographic was, what your area was, who the people are already traveling to your area are, or that niche, if you're near a city, if you can go after things like girlfriend groups or Boy Scouts or church groups or whatever, if you sat down and really thought of that stuff, then you wouldn't almost, maybe in some cases, you wouldn't need to even touch RVers. I mean, obviously girlfriend groups who RV and stuff like that, right? But not the blanket group. You could fill a park of 100, 200 sites pretty easily if you just focused on the experience and tailoring hot tub wine stuff to the group that you're going after, not just marketing to them, but providing the experience that they will enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think gone are the days of the bare minimum kind of offerings satisfying everybody. That diversification is necessary. I will note, I know lots of boomers. I think the majority of the boomers I know.
What are their names?
They're
I'm
proud.
trying to figure this out.
They're proud that they're not, having these high expectations and stuff like that. They like the simplicity and those things. Those are qualities they're proud of. So I don't think we're disparaging them at all. And I know my boomer dad always is like, really, you need all this? Why can't let's just be simple? So I think the diversification is valuable, but it also then exposes those other demographic groups who don't really know that they want those things to great parks that are offering incredible experiences. And
well, also, but you bring up a good point too, is because like that, if you think about it as not just I want to attract all the RVers, if you think about it like there could be a park that just wants to attract boomers.
Yeah.
But you have to embrace that, and you have to say like, I'm the disconnected park. I'm not the technology. I'm not the, and there's an audience for that for sure. There's a huge number.
You can do both. I'll just tell you something quick because it's so interesting. You just said that. I hadn't thought about it, but we have people because we're in the middle of nowhere. It's like 2.5 miles to my nearest neighbor. It's like just forest every direction, right? Like I had to run my own fiber, and there's like nobody for miles that even knows what that is. Like my neighbor doesn't even have a cell phone. Like they're 3 miles down and road to have a dairy farm. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I think is really interesting is when you look at what you both said and see they aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. We had somebody come here just like 4 days ago, and they explicitly they paid us to be able to just come and hike and like set up a tent and have no technology. That's not unique, by the way. Like we get requests every week for people to just come and like disconnect and have that experience. We still use AI extensively for like to make sure that things are optimized for them. So, but it's not like they don't even know it's there. Like the AI will tell our cleaner or like our property manager, say, hey, this person is from here, and we were able to discover that they like this. So let's see if they want like maybe one of our guests that recommended Japanese shortbread, and we made that and brought that to them. Like they don't have to have access to the AI or the technology to benefit from it. As an operator, you can still benefit, but you can get both ends because we also have the people who come and stay in our cabins, and they're like, oh, it's cool. We can talk to the TV and say we'd like the garbage to be, removed, or if they could bring some firewood down, or like you can get all ends of the spectrum depending upon how you set things up and still benefit from the economies of scale. And I think that's what it's like, how do you provide an AI driven back end without, or how do you provide, as the operators for yourself, an efficient, optimized AI and technology first backend, and then giving the customers the power to decide what level of information capability that they want, because everybody can be served, and I think you have to use the technology kind of hyper specialize to the customer, but maybe you don't have to sort of hyper specialize your operation, which could be expensive and might be like a fad of sorts. So anyway, it's something that is interesting thing, because I was surprised too that we were able to get these diametrically opposed customers who, like, one's like, cool, a drone, the other's like, I like to go to the well and get my water myself. It's just
it's finding that perfect balance, right? And I'll give you an example as we wrap up the show here. But like, I'll give you an example. Like, we stayed at a beautiful handmade treehouse in Ireland that a guy just like got locked down during COVID. He's like, I'm going to build this up in the trees. It's like two separate, like completely isolated, right? Hand carved wooden stuff, right? And we go in there, and like the bedroom is in one separate building. And so you just have a bed, but there's a huge window in the front of it. There's a huge windows to the side. There's windows in the ceiling. They all have automated retractable blinds that work with Alexa. But when you put down the blind in front of the bed, the huge window, you can just project PlayStation on there and play video games if you want to. That was not me. I didn't test it out. I'm assuming it works. The controllers were there, right? But when you open it up, there's a picturesque view of the whole valley of these beautiful trees, right? And so then you're playing to both sides. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you just have to understand it. It all goes back to understanding who is my customer. And I think there's a lot of people who aren't thinking about that the proper way. And if you do, then a lot of things can fall into place. All right. Final thoughts, Greg.
Thanks for having me on again. I had a birthday this week. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I will throw this out. And if anybody wants to do the math and throw me an email at growwithvireo.com, you get free market analysis. Ready? 858 billion miles old. There you go. That's my cosmic odometer. So Ari's already done. He's put it into one of his AI models. He's already figured it out. Now he's get a free market report for his resort there, which is fine. But thanks for having me on. It's great to see everybody.
And where can they find out more about Vireo?
Growwithvireo.com.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Cara?
Oh yeah, same. Thanks for having me. It's important for me to stay on top of all of this stuff. It's great for me to hear direct from so many great folks who are much smarter than me, specific to the kind of AI and tech world, and keeping up with all of it when I've got so much else going on. I definitely every time take things away from this, and I'm trying to be staying at the forefront in support of members across the country. So appreciate all of you very much.
And for the Canadian parks who are watching, where can they find out more about CCRVA?
Yeah, you can go to CCRVA.ca.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Cara. Kurtis?
Oh, thank you for having me on again, Brian. I absolutely love the subjects, the conversations that we had. I'm really excited to kind of hear more about Ari and Wesley. I'd love for you guys to reach out to me, or I can reach out to you after this. I have a lot of questions.
Absolutely.
But you guys can find me at ourjourney.com or advancedoutdoormanagement.com. Both of those will run you towards us. And I just wanted to shout out Cara. I would love to talk about your Canadian consumers. If you ever have a chat, love to talk about them.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
Are you opening up a Canadian park so they can come actually visit?
I will not disclose whether or not we manage a Canadian park, because we are an American company, and Canada is not very happy with America right now. And that was
really, I hadn't heard that. Did we explore that briefly? Or?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic right now. But regardless, yes, happy to have conversations about good partnerships.
Do you have European parks, Kurtis?
No European parks.
Wesley,
not yet. I shouldn't say we don't have them. Not yet.
All right. Yeah. No, thanks for the invite. It was great. Learned a lot from you guys of the American market, and it's good to get in touch. And if you would like to know a bit more about how we create the ultimate guest journey in the Netherlands, and maybe we can help you guys with some ideas for the Canadian or American market, or the other way around. So you can always visit easysecure.com, and there are all the movies, what we do at the campsites, and all the information, or just link me on LinkedIn, and we can chat.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll connect at set. Like, I'll be over there for covering it for Modern Campground. I'm not going to be an exhibitor, but we are going to send the organizers, the director, a list of people we want to interview. So I'll put your company on the list, and we'll do a write up on you in Modern Campground, and we can go have that wine. And I'll bring my hat. Ari, final thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, this is it's a cool podcast you're rocking, Brian. I enjoyed the information and like just great energy, great ideas. Unfortunately, it's never long enough because everyone's topic. Yeah, we could spend an entire day talking about it and still just scratch the surface. But I would just say that, the expectations, like, we're definitely at an inflection point, just hospitality in general, but I think probably glamping specifically, like, the expectations of guests are just rising like crazy. The demographics are changing. Like, AI is accelerating like literally everything, and the operators who are going to win, I really think that they have to just treat this as like, okay, I have to deliver high touch hospitality at a repeatable manner where I can deliver automation and capabilities that'll be cost efficient, and I have to constantly be looking to disrupt myself while providing a consistent experience. So the people who can kind of like weave that into their marketing and operations and their guest experience, like that idea holistically, I think that they're going to do so well. And I think that unfortunately that won't represent the majority of the operators. So I think there's going to be a lot of like, let's say, a change of the operators. You'll see a minority of operators making these adaptations and just thriving. And I think sadly a majority are going to fall by the wayside or get gobbled up. But I do think that because the future it's just coming so fast that it's just so easy to grab a hold of it. And so very cool stuff going on, and probably a little nerve-wracking, or a lot nerve-wracking for a lot of folks. And if you want to get in touch with me, Kurtis, I will talk your ear off on this stuff all day because I love it. But you can hit me at you can go to my company's website is fatrat.ai, but that's like the AI side. The hospitality side is Balance.Farm, and probably the easiest way to reach me is just go to LinkedIn and connect to me there. My wife's always like in my accounts, so she's much better communication and human interaction. So if you reach me there, she'll make sure I'm in touch. And I love these topics, and I love what all of you guys are doing. And I hope that I hope we can keep advancing the industry just by conversation and raising awareness.
And for those of you who are out there who want to like embrace this AI, move your campground forward, do all that kind of stuff for the next 3 months while we're relevant, you can contact me or you can contact Ari, and then after that you'll just talk to the AI.
We're useless,
But yeah, great episode. Thanks for joining us again for another episode of MC Fireside Chats. Really appreciate you, Ari, Wesley, Kurtis, Cara, Greg, and Mychele, who had to, I think, drop off for some reason, but hopefully all is well with her. And we will see you. If you're not tired of hearing from me, we have another live podcast coming up in 51 minutes called Outwired. Myself, Scott Barr, Greg Emmert's going to miss it because he's busy doing some high-level stuff, I guess. I don't know, like whatever you're doing, Greg, but like
don't start. Just don't start. We were having such a nice finish to the podcast, man. We can't just go off nice and easy. Ari gave you a nice exit.
Yeah.
Nice smooth exit, man.
All right. Take out the neighbor, Greg.
I was hoping for the neighbors showdown on this.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was holding on for.
We're going to talk about the crazy, like maybe coming employment, like labor issues that might impact parks pretty soon. Because where are your consumers going to get their money to go camping if we start to see more layoffs than we already are? So it's for sure a controversial topic, one that is very divisive, but we're going to tackle it for the next 2 hours or so on that podcast. Other than that, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of MC Fireside Chats, and we will see you next week. Take care, guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.